بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پر. رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پر. کیا یاد علی کو آیا ہے بازار شام مصلی پر. رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پر. خون جاری تھا زخمی سر سے روتے تھے نمازی صف میں کھڑے. کس طرح حسن نے رو رو کر کی فجر تمام مصلی پر. رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پر. اور زخمی پہلو جب یاد آیا زخمی پیشانی بھول گیا. زخمی پہلو جب یاد آیا زخمی پیشانی بھول گیا. زہرا کی مصیبت پر رویا مظلوم امام مصلی پر. رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پر. یہ پہلی فجر ہے زینب کی سجدے میں سکون ملتا ہی نہیں. یہ پہلی فجر ہے زینب کی سجدے میں سکون ملتا ہی نہیں. دل ڈوبتا ہے آتا ہی نہیں. ایک پل آرام مصلی پر. رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پر. دیوار کعبہ بیٹھ گئی الحمد لہو میں ڈوب گئی. دیوار کعبہ بیٹھ گئی الحمد لہو میں ڈوب گئی. امت سے ملا ہے مولا کو کیسا انعام مصلی پہ رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پہ اس غیرت دار کی غربت پہ روتی ہے علی کی غربت بھی اس غیرت دار کی غربت پر روتی ہے علی کی غربت بھی 40 برس جو کہتا رہا اشام شام مصلی پہ رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پہ شبیر کی جانب سے اکبر قاتل کو پلایا تھا شربت شبیر کی جانب سے اکبر قاتل کو پلایا تھا شربت جب یاد علی کو آیا تھا ایک تشنا کام مصلی پہ رو رو کے علی کیوں لیتے ہیں زینب کا نام مصلی پہ بر محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
Jazakallah khair, brother. One more loud salawat for him. At this time, I'd like to request Sheikh Mahdi to ascend the member to honor us with the speech tonight and request the brothers and sisters to move as close to the member as possible as there will be more people coming in with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
One more salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات اللهم صل على محمد. For the love of our beloved Prophet and his beloved progeny, a second loud salawat. Allahumma salli. For the hastening in the return of our beloved 12th Imam, a third final loud salawat. Allahumma salli. Tonight, inshallah, we will be delving into one of the characteristics of Ali ibn Abi Talib that shines the brightest in his character. That is the justice of Ali. This justice of Ali that people of other faiths and other ideologies have written books about. And the justice that shines the brightest in history. Anytime you talk about a just ruler, and not simply a ruler who speaks about justice and idolizes justice, but worked hard and put in effort to implement justice within society, surely the name of our first Imam will come up in that discussion. Ali has an obsession with justice. He is constantly involved with implementing justice. This started even before the Prophet passed away and he became the Khalifa. You find anywhere the Prophet wanted to implement justice within society while he was still alive, you find he would do this many times through the character of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And this obsession with justice and this attention to justice that Ali had continued as he went on and life went on, and slowly he was going to become the Khalifa of his time. And hence this is one of the first things that he told the people of his time. When they came to his house and they crowded his house after Uthman had been killed, and they asked him to become the Khalifa, this is amongst the first things that Ali raised to them. He gave them a fair warning. He gave them a heads up that if I come in, if I take on this responsibility, well, I will apply a justice that might be difficult for some of you to bear. And immediately after he became the Khalifa, in his first khutbahs, you find the main theme and the main topic is the topic of justice. And slowly you found some of those companions of the Imam, who typically were considered early companions of the Prophet, slowly they started to disperse from around the first Imam. Tonight, inshallah, we want to take some time to delve into the justice of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And in order to do so, we'll pose the following questions. Number one, how does Ali ibn Abi Talib define justice in his own words? Number two, what points did the Imam make in the first khutbah that he gave after he was chosen as Khalifa? And how did he give the people of his time a fair warning that he would then be applying justice within society? Number three, when some of the close companions of the Prophet, like Talha and Zubair, came to the Imam, and they asked for their share of Baytul Mal to be increased because of the reputation that they had, what did Imam Ali tell them, and how did they react to his words? Number four, what areas are there in our lives, in the life of myself and the life of you, where the justice that needs to be applied and established is not being applied and not being established? Number five, what point did Imam Ali make to his famous companion Malik ibn Ashtar when he put him in charge of the land of Egypt? What did he tell him and what did he teach him so that Malik could always remain humble and apply justice to himself as the governor of Egypt? And number six, and finally, what famous words did Ali ibn Abi Talib utter and say when his own servants brought a portion of Baytul Mal into his house and hid it from him in the hopes that Ali would take some of this Baytul Mal? What did Ali say when he cracked open the bags of the gold and silver that Qambar had brought into his house? Tonight, inshallah, we'll delve into these 6 questions with a loud salawat ala Muhammadin wa Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli. Let us begin from here. Left and right, anywhere you look in the seerah of Ali, his discussion, his main theme, his main point is the concept of justice. And hence you will find him saying and talking about justice left and right. He is narrated to have said, Al-adlu aqwa asas, the most foundational foundation, most important foundation to anything is that there is justice that lies within that system. And he's also narrated to have said, Al-adlu hayatul ahkam. Justice is the spirit of all of the other rules and laws that you find in Islam. And hence he would turn to his people, say, adl and justice is that measuring stick that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed for you. So use that measuring stick in your day-to-day life. And do not ignore the measuring stick and the standard that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted to you. And when you look into his life, slowly you start to see that it's almost as if Ali has an obsession with justice. It's like left and right. You have to have justice here, you have to have justice there. It's a topic he keeps going back to over and over again. And in fact, he keeps going back to this justice even more than some would even argue than the Prophet himself. When you look into the words of the Prophet, when the Prophet was alive, he was leading a Muslim community. While he was leading this Muslim community, there were hundreds of different issues that would come up. Issues about marriage, issues about divorce, issues about wars, issues about peace, so on and so forth. When you come to the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib, all of a sudden you see Ali, he is speaking of justice so much more than he speaks about almost any other concept. One might even argue more than the Prophet. And the reason for this is because the times had changed quite a bit from the time of the Prophet compared to the time of the Imam. During the time of the Prophet, the Muslims had nothing. When the Prophet was in Mecca, the narration says he didn't even have a horse to his name. Didn't even have a ride to his name. When he was doing his hijrah from Mecca to Medina, what does the narrations tell us? Narrations tell us they had to buy him or try to find for him a ride that he could ride on from Mecca to Medina. Otherwise, the Prophet didn't have anything. When they came to Medina, war after war, constantly, there were people who were attacking the Muslims. They were resisting this whole time. It was only after conquering Mecca where slowly wealth started to pour in towards the family of the Prophet and the Prophet himself. And this was near the end of the life of the Prophet. Only a couple years later, the Prophet passed away. Fast forward 25 years after the Prophet has passed away, now Ali is coming into the picture. Now finally people are recognizing Ali because they're tired of these other khulafa. They came to Ali and they asked him and they begged him to become Khalifa. This is at a time where the amount of wealth that is pouring into Medina is more than ever was the case with the prophets. You and I don't understand how great this Muslim kingdom, Islam empire had become. On one side, all the way to the far east, on the other side, all the way to the far west. The Khulafa did a lot of this. This is the reality of the matter. Now, when you have all of these Muslim nations, where do all of these taxes go? Where does all of the money go? Where does all of the kharaj go? Well, it goes to the Khalifa. So during the time of Ali, things are very different now. During the time of Ali, you're no longer living in that poverty that the Prophet was dealing with. If you want to have wealth at your disposal, you can. This is why Ali came back to the issue of justice so much, because he found this to be the pitfall of his time. So he keeps coming back to it. He talks about it maybe even more than the Prophet, not because he knows more than the Prophet, no, because the times expect from him to touch on the issue of justice more. So, Ya Ali, what is justice in your perspective? He said, Al-adlu, adl, justice, is when you place everything in its right place. You give everyone their worth. You give everyone what they are entitled to. It doesn't mean everyone walks away with the same amount all the time, though sometimes that might be the case. But it means you give everyone what they deserve, what they are entitled to. And this is what we believe in Islam. That is why the rules of Islam are different from person to person. They don't apply the same. This gender has certain duties, the other gender has certain duties, and unfortunately you find this trend within our communities who want to make these the same. Man and woman should have the same, they should all be the same. This is not the adl that Ali spoke of. Ali said you give everything, you place everything where it needs to be placed. and you give everyone what they are entitled to. And from the beginning, what this teaches us is that if we want to implement justice, even in our own personal lives, the first step of it, brothers and sisters, is knowledge. You can't try to implement faith in your religion, in your life, unless you have the knowledge of knowing where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to place each thing. If I don't know what this person has in terms of rights, how am I supposed to do justice to their rights? First one is knowledge. And then the second one is to be frank and then be steadfast in applying justice. And Ali, of course, had both of these. This started before the Prophet even had passed away. Because when the Prophet wanted to implement justice, many times he would turn to Ali. Where do you see this? You see this in the final days of the life of the Prophet. And I bring this up because this issue and how it connects to one of our main beliefs is one of the main differences we have with Ahlul Sunnah on this issue. Ali is sent to Yemen. As part of this trip that he has to Yemen, he is to bring some of the wealth from Yemen back to the capital that is now Medina. This is now at the end of the life of the Prophet. Islam has extended all the way to Yemen. He goes, representing the Prophet. When he goes there, his troops who are with him on the way back, as they are heading back, because this is wealth that belongs to the Muslims now, they started to wear the cloth and the armor that they were bringing back from Yemen. This was some of the taxes that the people of Yemen were supposed to pay to the Muslim Khalifa, who at that time, of course, was the Prophet. He was the one who was leading things. On the way back, these troops were thinking, of course, this belongs to the Muslims now. It's no harm. I'm going to wear this as I head back. Because in history, you read, Yemen had some of the best cloth. So on the way back, they started to wear this cloth. And Ali had left his army to go and give the news to the Prophet. Then he came back to join his army, to then join the Prophet with his army, now in Mecca, because the Prophet was doing his final Hajj. So the narration says, Ali came back, rode back to his army. When he rode back to his army, all of a sudden he saw his army has already divided amongst themselves. These cloths and this armor and these wealth that is supposed to be a tax that the Prophet is supposed to divide. Prophet's supposed to say, you get this part, you get this part. Back in the day, things weren't always money, it was objects. So you divide it. Even in dividing it, there's a particular attention to detail that you need to have, yes? It's not like all the cars are the same. If you get 5 cars, it depends who gets which car, yes? He came back, he saw his army is wearing this. All of a sudden, Ali turned towards them. He said, no, you have to all take this off. This did not sit well with the army of Ali. So they started to bicker. And they said, Ya Ali, you are too harsh. Yes, what is this justice thing you have? So they made their way back to Mecca. When they went back to Mecca, they came to the Prophet. They said, Ya Rasulullah, we have a problem. This Ali, he says things, he does things, it's too harsh. And Ali said a line that remained in history. The Prophet said a line that remained in history. He said, don't come to me and complain about Ali. إِنَّهُ لَخَشِنٌ فِي ذَاتِ اللَّهِ. When it comes to people's rights and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated on him, yes, he is harsh and he is severe. He doesn't back down. He doesn't compromise when the rights of others are being trampled. This is before the Prophet even left. Now the Prophet has left, 25 years roughly, 24 have passed. Now finally people have come to Ali. Ya Ali, we're tired of this Khalifa. Uthman did what he did. And we all know what Uthman did with wealth. This was his main flaw, his main pitfall. They said, Ya Ali, we want you as a Khalifa now. And Ali narrates in Nahj al-Balagha the way people crowded his house, the way people ran towards his house. He says, if I wasn't afraid for my own family getting trampled, I would have said no. But the way people came to my house. So they came to him, they said, Ya Ali, now you have to become the Khalifa. Yes? He said a line. He said, Da'uni, leave me alone. Waltamisu ghayri, go and find someone else. Because you don't want that justice that I'm going to apply within society. He says, he's giving them fair warning. He's telling them, listen, the justice I apply, a lot of you guys who come and are my friends right now, when I come into the picture, that justice I apply, you're not going to want that. You're going to walk away. You're going to say, Ali took away our rights. Ali did this. Ali did that. He said, I will be a better minister for your Khalifa than I will be a Khalifa for you. I would rather have that position. Of course, Ali finds himself worthy of Khilafah. There's no doubt about this. He's speaking to the people and how prepared they are. He said, you're not prepared. You come here, you say justice this, justice that. But if I came into the picture and I started doing things this way, trust me, you would walk away. They said, no, Ya Ali, here, we will give you bay'ah. They came and gave bay'ah. And amongst the first who came and gave bay'ah, of course, were the Talhas and the Zubairs of the world. They came and gave their bay'ah. The next day, the narration says, Ali came into the masjid. He said, yes, I have an announcement for you. It's a longer khutbah, but these are some of the lines in it. He said, Allah, no. Everything that Uthman was so generous with the Baytul Mal of the Muslimin, and he used to give very easily to whoever he wished, whoever he liked. He said, everything that Uthman gave away, I'm going to bring it back. Even if you've married your wives through that wealth that you paid to them as dowry. This money you took from Baytul Mal became the dowry of your wife. I'm sorry, I'm bringing it back. And even if you've taken this wealth and you've bought servants for yourself, I'm bringing it back. And even if tafarraqa fil buldan, even if this wealth has turned into pieces and has been spread around the lands of Islam, from this person to this person to this person, la raddadtuhu ala halih, I'm going to bring it back. So immediately, everyone who was a fan of justice all of a sudden is like, I don't know about that. I don't know about this justice thing. You know why I emphasize this point so much? Because we sit here and we call the 12th Imam. Say, Ya Allah, send this 12th Imam, let him bring justice. And then the 12th Imam comes. And just in our own words, I'll say this, yes? The 12th Imam, he doesn't compromise. The narration says he's just like his great-grandfather. When he comes, he applies justice. And you might think, yes, justice is no problem. I've never stole from anyone else. No, justice is not just stealing from someone else. We'll talk about where justice is not applied in our own lives, me and you. We call the 12th Imam. But if he were to come, all of a sudden people will start to disperse away from him. So the first people who came, the narration says there was some extra wealth that was sent to the capital. Ali turned to his close companions. One of them was Ammar. He said, Ammar, I need you to divide this wealth. You, 2-3 other people, I need you to divide this wealth. And you are to divide it equally. Everyone gets the same amount. Now, not always in Islam does everyone get the same amount. It's not as simple as that. There's complexities to the law like there is to any law. But in this situation, he said everyone gets the same amount. So Ammar started to divide this wealth. They did their calculations. Every person was supposed to receive 3 dinars. As dinar is gold. 3 dinars every person is supposed to get. So the people came, stand in line, started to give from this Baytul Mal. Amongst those people who came and stood in line, of course, was Talha and Zubair. And they came with their 2 sons. Talha and Zubair came, they looked at them. Ammar said, give him 3 dinars, give him 3 dinars, give their kids 3 dinars too. And Talha and Zubair were standing there like, what is this? Ammar said, what's the problem? He said, لَيْسَ هَكَذَا يُعْتِينَا عُمَرْ. The other khulafa didn't used to deal with us this way. This is a couple days after Khilafah of Ali. Couple days. Hasn't even started yet. He said, the other khulafa didn't used to do this with us. They used to treat us differently. They said, listen, this is what Ali has told us. Ali has told us everyone gets the same amount. He said, this is what Ali told you, or you came up with this yourself? He said, no, this is what Ali told us. He said, that's fine, we'll go speak to Ali. Yes? We'll go speak to the manager. Yes? We'll go speak to Ali directly. Where is Ali? They said, Ali is on his land, he's working there. You can go find Ali over there. They went, they found Ali, shovels, tools, him, another worker standing with him, in the sun. Sweating. They said, Ya Ali, we have to tell you something. He said, go ahead. He said, not here in the sun. Let's go sit in the shade. He said, fine, I'll come sit in the shade, see what you have to say. He went and sat in the shade. They said, Ya Ali, there's something we have to tell you about. We went, they told him the whole story. We went, they gave us 3 just like everybody else. And Ali looked at them and he said something. He said, وَمَا تُرِيدان? He said, okay, so what exactly are you asking for? What's the problem? I don't understand. They said, no, the problem is the other khulafa didn't used to do this. They used to give us more. Now you're giving us just like everybody else. This doesn't work like this. So Ali asked the question of them. Ali said, let me ask you something. You say the other khulafa gave you this. How much did the Prophet used to give you? And the narration says, فَسَكَتَ. They went quiet. Because they know the Prophets used to do things based on justice too. فَسَكَتَ. They turned quiet. So Ali then started. He said, is the sunnah of the khulafa more important? Or the sunnah of the Prophet is more important? You tell me. They said, no, Ya Ali, you're right. The sunnah of the Prophet is more important. He said, wonderful. Before he could go back to his work, they said, Ya Ali, but we have to tell you something. You know, we're special companions of the Prophet, huh? If you want to give us the same as everyone else, faf'al, go ahead, that's fine. But let us tell you something. We have 3 advantages over everybody else. Number 1, we have a sabiqah. We were early Muslims. Number 2, we have a qarabah with the Prophet. We're relatives of the Prophet. Number 3, we went through difficulty for Islam. Yes, we fought for Islam. In all 3, they were right. In all 3, they were correct. So then Ali looked at them. He said, yes, I understand. You have all of these 3. So let me ask you something. You said you were amongst the first Muslims, yes? They said, yes, we're amongst the first Muslims. He said, but did you embrace the faith before me, or did I embrace the faith before you? They said, no, Ya Ali, you're right. You embraced the faith before us. You were earlier than us. He said, you said you're relatives of the Prophet. Let me ask you something. You're a closer relative of the Prophet, or I'm a closer relative of the Prophet? They said, no, Ya Ali, you're a closer relative of the Prophet. You said you went through difficulty for Islam. You went through more difficulty, or I went through more difficulty for Islam? They said, no, Ya Ali, you went through more difficulty. He said, you know why I asked you all of this? Because you see me, you see this worker that was working with me in the sun? From the Baytul Mal, I get the same amount that this worker gets. So then why would I give you more? They had nothing to say, except the last thing they said. They said, Ya Ali, you're right. One more thing, by the way. Just one small little thing, by the way. What is it? They said, Ya Ali, we're going for Umrah. We're not staying in Medina anymore. And Ali said, you're not going for Umrah. I know exactly where you're going. You're going to Basra to start a war. And as they were walking away, the narration says Ali recited this verse of the Quran, وَمَن نَكَثَ فَإِنَّمَا يَنْكُثُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. And whoever breaks the promise he gave to God, he is only going to hurt himself. وَمَن أَوْفَى بِمَا عَاهَدَ عَلَيْهُ اللَّهِ. And the one who holds on to his promise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him a big reward. And the narration says he recited this and they could hear him as he was reciting. I know exactly where you guys are going. It's easy to apply justice to strangers. It gets difficult when it's your own relative, it's your own family, it's someone who's close to you. You guys were in the same camp. You think Talha and Zubayr were not in the same camp as Ali? Some of these guys were people who witnessed the burial of Lady Fatima. Salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Some of these guys, how many people witnessed this burial? Less than 20. There's different numbers in history, but less than 20. Some of these guys were part of this group. But the moment justice came into the picture, they said, no, 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 we're out. Because Ali had the attention to detail that nobody else had. The narration says someone came and made a claim against Ali. This is while he's Khalifa. Made a claim against Ali, yes? This wealth belongs to me, it doesn't belong to Ali. So he went to the judge, and of course the judge is appointed by Ali. So the judge was standing there. This person came, he told his story. The judge said, "Oh, Fulan," told him his name. "Tell me what happened." He said, "Yes, this wealth belongs to me. It doesn't belong to Ali," and all of this kind of stuff. The judge then turned to Ali. Now imagine, this is technically his boss that he's bringing to court. So he turned to Ali, he said, "Ya Abul Hasan, why don't you tell us your side of the story? Go and stand beside this man who's making this claim against you and tell us your side of the story." And all of a sudden they saw Ali is frustrated. He's not happy. They said, "What happened, Ya Ali? It's not a problem." He said, "No, I'm not upset that you asked me to go stand beside this man. I'm upset because when you called his name, you just used his name. When you called me, you used my title. That is for showing affection. That is for showing praise. You're the judge. You're not supposed to speak to people in different ways. You called me, you should have said, Ya Ali. Not Ya Abul Hasan. Of course I'm the Khalifa. You're already biased. You can't do that." This is the justice that Ali used to try to implement within society. When it came to his own lifestyle, he used to say in his khutbahs, "If I wanted to, I could have had the best of lifestyles. I could have had the best and the finest of silk as my clothing. And I could have had the best of water brought to me and the best of crystals that I could drink from. And I could have had the best of meals prepared for me, the chicken and the meat that you all eat." He said, "I could have had that for myself too, if I wanted to take from Baytul Mal extra." Yes, injustice. He said, "But you know why I don't do this? I don't do this because I don't want to meet the Prophet on the day of judgment and he looks at me and he says, 'You betrayed one of my ummah.' He said, I would rather sleep on a bed made of the thorns of the desert than to meet the Prophet and he looks at me and he says, 'You took wealth from one of my nation.'" This is Ali. This is the one who you and I almost cannot even understand. His justice seems extreme to us. But Ali kept explaining why he was so sensitive on this issue of justice. He said, "You know why I don't take from the wealth of the yatim or ghayrul yatim or non-yatim?" He said, "Because every time I want to take from the wealth of a yatim, I want to do injustice to someone, I am reminded by this body of mine that's already falling apart. I'm not going to be here forever. My body's already falling apart. And I'm reminded of that place that I'm going to go under dirt and I will remain there forever. And even if I live a long life, at the end of the day, I'm going to have to meet God. Every time I want to take from the wealth of this person or that person, I am reminded of this." So we read these lines of Ali, and we say, "MashaAllah, wonderful, what a great Imam." He never took from the wealth of anyone. But the problem is, injustice is not just taking from the wealth of others. Injustice is when you trample on the rights of others. Sometimes it's wealth. Now you and I might live in a part of the world where, alhamdulillah, we live comfortable lives. Our test is not always wealth. And for most of us sitting here, the majority of us, our test is not wealth. The majority of us, our test is how we treat each other. So I ask you, you look at Ali, he says, "I don't touch this wealth because it reminds me of this body of mine that's already falling apart. I already know I'm going to have to respond and answer for what I do." So I ask you now, yes, is it justice in our houses, in our communities, in our cultures? Is it justice this wife comes into the house, she gets married, wonderful, yes, the wedding with the 34 other ceremonies that we typically have for the weddings. Is it justice she comes into this house and then all of a sudden she's responsible for A to Z in this house? She has to wash, she has to clean, she has to scrub, she has to take care of the kids, she has to do homework for the kids, she has to take care of the groceries, she has to take the kids to the school, she has to do that. Is this justice? Is this what Ali taught us? It's not what Ali taught us. Is it justice in our households? You will find this, and I've heard this many times. Is it justice in our households this young woman, this young daughter of this household, she has 101 restrictions on her. Where you go, what time you go, who you spend time with, how you do this, how you do that, all of this kind of stuff, yes? And some of these restrictions are valid and they are important. But then this young man in the house, the son in the house, no, alhamdulillah, he can do as he wishes. He can come whenever he wants to come. He can go whenever he wants to go. He can dress however he wants to dress. He can communicate with whoever he wants to. It's however you like. Then God forbid this young boy washes one dish in the house. Then all of a sudden, mashallah, your wife is going to be so lucky. I'm here to give you some bad news. He's going to have to do a lot more than just washing one dish when he gets married. And then we say, yes, our youth are not interested in marriage. Well, maybe they've seen something for the past 30 years in their houses. Now they say, I don't want a part of that. That's not the only reason, and I want to be clear about this, but this is definitely one of the reasons. I know that for sure. Is it justice in your house, your mother and father who gave everything for you, their lives, years, then they come and tell you something, then all of a sudden you walk away like you're a king. You slam that door, you walk inside as if you're somebody in this house. Is this justice? Is this what Ali taught you? The God of Ali is the same God that exists today. The rules of God are the same rules. If Ali says injustice brings this type of punishment, it will bring that type of punishment for you and I too. It's not like the rules changed. It's the same God, it's the same rules, it's the same standards. Is it justice, brothers and sisters, in our households? These fathers come home, these mothers come home. All of a sudden you see in some households, the kids, they start to shake, tremble. Why? What happened? Our parent came home. Because the moment this father or mother comes home, the kids know all fun is done. Now, the only thing you can do is dodge the bullets of getting into trouble. Why is this here? Why is that there? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? What are you watching? Shut it down. All fun is shut down now all of a sudden. Terrible akhlaq. Is this justice? Is this what Ahl Bayt taught us? I come into the house like this, like a king. This is, Ali ibn Abi Talib said, listen, when you're going at it and you are speaking to someone and you're doing injustice to them, remember your body and how it's already falling apart. You're going to be held accountable. The justice of Ahlul Bayt extends to all areas of the life of the human being. Is it justice this husband comes home, he's been providing, he's been doing whatever he can, and then this wife turns around and says, yes, you know, Fulani's husband got them this. If you were more of a man, you would have been able to get this for us. Is this justice? This is not justice. And these injustices, brothers and sisters, I'm not saying it, Ali is saying it, we will be held accountable to these. And if we find these in our homes, the only way to go about it is to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quickly. Quickly. Why does it have to take you 10 years to then come back and apologize? Why not 10 minutes? This is why Ali kept going back to the issue of justice. So he heard in some of his letters, he heard that one of his own governors by the name of Uthman ibn Hunayf has been invited to a luxurious gathering. Now, a gathering that has really good food, for a normal person might be fine, yes? But for the governor, he's not allowed to go. This is based on the rules of Ali. You're not allowed to go, except he went. He wrote in this letter, Yabna Hunayf, I've heard that you go to these luxurious gatherings. And in these luxurious gatherings, they're the type of gatherings who, by the way, only the wealthy are allowed to come. The poor are not allowed to come. And there are foods of all sorts and so on and so forth, lavish. He said, Yabna Hunayf, everyone has a leader they look up to. Everyone has a standard that they go by. Let me tell you what my standard is. Allah, know wa inna imamakum, know that your imam qad iktafa, he eats 2 dates a day. And he eats a loaf of bread a day. if you can't apply justice, you're not supposed to be in this position. He went on and on. The letter is a long letter, harsh statements from Ali, harsh. You know what he ended the letter with? He ended the letter with this. He said, Yabna Hunayf, O son of Hunayf, let the loaves of bread be enough for you, and let those loaves of bread protect you from the hellfire. Don't go on taking from the Baytul Mal of Muslimin and adding it to your own wealth. He said, let the loaves of bread protect you from hellfire. And when he was putting Malik ibn Ashtar in charge, yes, of the land of Egypt. The land of Egypt, of course, is a civilization of its own. It's a place of its own. There were fights over who was going to be the governor of Egypt, yes? He sent Malik Ashtar, long letter, yes? Inshallah, one time we'll have a series on that letter. Long letter. In the letter, he said, Malik, now that I'm putting you in charge and you're going there, over time, you will start to feel some power and authority in yourself, because you're not ruling over some little village. There were smaller places Ali gave to Kumail and he gave to these other people. For Egypt, he gave it to Malik Ashtar. He sent back his own son. Yes? Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, the Imam sent him back. He said, no, you can't take care of this. This is too serious. He sent him back. His son was surprised. Why? What did I do something wrong? The Imam wrote to him. He said, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just out of your ability to manage something like this. Misr, Egypt is not a small thing. He wrote to Malik. He said, Malik, when you go there, over time, you will find an ubuha inside of yourself. Slowly over time, you'll feel like you're somebody. And he said, remember, Malik, when you feel like you're somebody, remember there's someone above you who's more of a somebody than you are. These are the lines you and I have to remember when we do injustice to our own household and our own relatives. The Prophet said, Ittaqi da'wat al-mazlum, stay away. Be fearful of the dua of the one who's been wronged, the one who has been oppressed. فَإِنَّهُ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٌ. There's no barrier between his dua and God. And I can tell you for sure, sometimes that mazloom is in our own house. I can tell you for sure. Sometimes that mazloom that the narration is talking about is in your own house. He wrote to Malik, he said, Malik, when you go, know that there's someone watching above you. In some of his other letters to his governors, he writes, he says, listen, when you go, you have to constantly send me reports because I am watching you. And then Ali said this, he said, and know there's someone that's watching me. He said, I'll ask for you to send your reports, but know there's someone watching me too, let alone you. So Qambar says, I came to the house of Ali. And I found whatever of the wealth people send to Ali, the only thing Ali does, he takes a look at it. The only question he asks is, how are we supposed to divide this amongst people? That's the only thing he asks. He never asks, how much am I going to get? So Qambar says, you know what? I thought one day, this time when they send some of this wealth, I'll bring it into the house myself. I'll keep it for Ali, so that at least he can walk away with something himself. The narrations say he used to divide things and then people used to come and ask for his own share. He used to give his own share. So I said, I will keep some of this. He brought some of the silver, some of the darahim. He brought some of the dinars into the house. He came to Ali. He said, Ya Ali, come, I have something wonderful for you. And Ali said, what is it that you have for me? He said, Qum ya Ali, come, I just want to show you. Come. So he stood up and he took the hands of Ali, and Ali following him. And they went into the room, and all of a sudden Ali saw these bags full of money, full of silver and gold coins. And he said, Ya Ali, I brought these because you never hold on to anything for yourself. And Ali said, I'd rather have my house be on fire than to have Baytul Mal, the rights of others, being trampled because of me. The narration says he took out his sword, he slashed these bags, and the gold coins and the silver coins fell on the ground in front of Qambar and in front of Ali. And then Ali said a line no one else in history has ever said, no one else in history other than a ma'soom will ever say. He looked at the gold coins. He said, "Ghurri ghayri," go and trick somebody else. You're not going to trick me. He looked at the silver coins. He said, "Ya bayda," go trick somebody else. "Ghurri ghayri," you're not going to trick me. He turned to Qambar. He said, "This is how you're going to divide this wealth." And even that final wealth that Ali had, he divided as well. And this is why Ali was this character that was full of virtues. Anytime he walked, his close companions who understood who Ali was, they just wanted to look at Ali. That's how beautiful this character was. The narration says he came into the masjid, he was praying. Abu Dhar was with us in the masjid. We saw Abu Dhar doesn't take his eyes off of Ali. Everything Ali does, he's looking at Ali. We looked at Abu Dhar, we said, "Why are you doing this? He's just here to pray. You won't lift your eyes from him." He said, "You don't know, my Habib, my beloved," he was talking about the Prophet. He said, "My Habib told me looking at 4 things is ibadah. One of them is the Kaaba. When you see the Kaaba, yes, you look at it, it is ibadah for you. One of them is the Mus'haf of the Quran. When you open the Quran, you look at it, this is ibadah. The third of them is your own parents. If you look at them with kindness, this is ibadah." And he said the fourth of them that the Prophet said was wajhu Ali, in the face of Ali. If you just look, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ajil faraj. He said, the Prophet told me, if you just look at the face of Ali, this is who Ali was. When they told him, some of your companions have left you, they've gone, they've joined the side of Muawiyah. You know what Ali said? Ali said, that's fine. They saw all of justice and they still walked away. Let them go. I don't need them anymore. And this is the person who during these days and nights, his weak body lies in his bed. His body that has been struck with the sword of Ibn Muljam, this body that used to belong to Fatih Khaybar, that used to belong to the one who took the gates of Khaybar, it used to belong to the one who was the most powerful of warriors. Now the body of Ali is sitting in the corner of the house, and these women and children come and see Ali in this difficult position. How difficult was this for the family of Ali? The narration says when he was struck on the head, they started to bring him to the house. Imagine that moment when Zainab and Kulthum and the other children of Ali came and saw Ali, this strong man. Now he can barely walk in the house anymore. Now he can barely take care of what he needs to. Maybe it reminded them of their mother Fatima in those final days of hers, when she used to barely be able to walk around the house. She could barely take care of her own affairs anymore. These children have been through so much difficulty and pain. They have been through so many masa'ib and difficulties and calamities. Ali, they brought him into the house. The narration says Kulthum looked at this situation. Tears started to flow from the eyes of the daughter of Ali. All of a sudden, Kulthum looked at Ibn Muljam. She said, Ibn Muljam, I hope my father walks away from this. And Ibn Muljam said something that broke the heart of Kulthum. Ibn Muljam said, Kulthum, let me tell you something. With the poison that I put on that sword, and with how long I let that sword remain in the poison, and the way I struck your father, there's no way your father will make it out alive out of this. These are the final days of your father. What goes through the heart of a daughter when they tell this daughter, look at your father, he's melting away in front of you, and this will be his final days. He'll never be better after this. The narration says they called for the doctor to come in. The doctor came in, started to look at the wound of Ali, and immediately from the face of this physician, you could tell that he doesn't think that there is any hope left for Ali. But there was one line he said to the family of Ali where they started to break down. When he looked at this wound and how deep this wound was, the physician turned towards Ali. He said, Ya Ali, do your final wasiyah. Make your final will, because there's no more coming back after this. This pain you're experiencing, Ali, this difficulty you're going through, this will be the final calamity of your life. There's no more coming back after this. And some narrations say he told them that milk might help with the wound of Ali. And the orphans started to gather in the city of Kufa. They started to gather around the house of Ali, each of them with the little bit of milk that they were able to gather in these little dishes. Why have you come here? We've come here to see Ali in his final moments. We've come here to offer him back something. For all of those nights that Ali used to walk into the city of Kufa and he used to carry with him the bags of food for these orphans, we've come back to return the favor a little bit. And maybe Imam al-Hasan tells him, go away. There's no more hope for that man who used to walk in the city of Kufa. Maybe some of these orphans during these nights are wondering still, why doesn't that man come? That man who used to bring us bread, that man who used to bring us water, that man who used to cover his face during these nights. We never knew who he was. Why doesn't he come anymore during these nights to bring us a little bit of food, to take a little bit of a moment to bring comfort to the heart of ours? Why has that man left us alone? Because Ali, the father of the orphans, he has now fallen himself. As Ali gathers his relatives around him in those final moments, and he tells him his final wasiyas. But we tell to Ali, Ya Ali, on the 10th of Muharram, there were those in the final moments of their lives, they didn't even have the chance to make their final wasiyas. Ya Ali, your grandchildren in Karbala, they will go to the battlefield, and when they're in the battlefield, all of a sudden the cry will come, and the call will come, and Hussein will run into the battlefield. When did this happen? This happened with Qasim ibn al-Hasan, that loved one of Hussein, the yatim of Hassan. The narration says he called out when he went to the battlefield. The troops attacked him, they struck him on the head. All of a sudden Qasim fell from this horse and he called out. He said, Ya Ammati. He said, Ya Ammah, my uncle, come to the help and aid and assistance of your dear niece and nephew. And the narration says Hussein ran towards the battlefield, and there was dust in the sky. The only thing we saw in those final moments was Hussein was pulling the body of Qasim back to the tent, and his feet were dragging in the dirt of Karbala. Ala la'natullah ala al-qawmi al-zalimin wa saya'lamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalabin yanqalibun. Mata Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. वक्त सहर खून में तर वारिस कुरान है, 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 वक्त सहर खून में तर वारिस कुरान। रोती है अज़ा मस्जिद कुफा भी है गिरिया है, वक्त सहर खून में तर वारिस कुरान है, वक्त सहर खून में तर वारिस कुरान है, वक्त सहर खून में तर वारिस लो आज से आगाज हुआ कर वो बला का, मकदूमाए कौनैन का जारी हुआ गिरिया, مرقد میں محمد بھی نظر آئے پریشان ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر کیا زہر میں ڈوبی ہوئی شمشیر چلی ہے لو زخمی ہوا سجدے میں داماد نبی ہے دنیا سے چلا دیکھیے کعبے کا نگہبان ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر جبریل امی خاک اڑاتے ہوئے آئے آدم بھی یہی نوحہ سناتے ہوئے آئے کس کو دم مشکل میں پکارے گا مسلمان ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن تو نے بن ملجم یہ ستم کیسا ہے ڈھایا سجدے میں نمازی کا لہو کیوں ہے بہایا عباس کو بچپن میں کیا چاک گریباں ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر حسنین کے سر پر ہے یتیمی کا اندھیرا رخصت ہوا سورج کی نگاہوں سے سویرا زمزم میں تلا تم ہے تو کوثر میں ہے طوفان ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر ریحان ہے رضوان جنا چاک گریباں ہے باغ رم باغ فدق کی طرح گریاں حسنین کا بابا ہے ذرا دیر کا مہمان ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن ہے وقت سحر خون میں تر وارث قرآن اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله وأن عليا ولي الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد وأن عليا حجة الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عليه. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله استغفر الله ربي وأتوب. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته وارفع درجته. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. سبحان الله والحمد لله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور أنت الرب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شهر عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته، وهو الشهر الذي فرضت صيامه عليه، وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان، وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من 1000 شهر. فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار فيما تمن علي وأدخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. صلى الله على محمد وعلى محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. وأن عليا حجة الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. استغفر ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته وارفع درجته. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان الله الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. سبحان الله والحمد لله الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغن كل فقير. اللهم أشبع كل جائع. اللهم اكس كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد. Inshallah, ziyarah after the dua.
brothers and sisters, if you could please help us with our cleanup. We will try to start Dua Iftitah shortly. If you can please help us with our cleanup. Per Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat. Brothers and sisters, if you could finish helping us to clean up, inshallah, we'll start the dua in a few minutes.
Inshallah, we're going to begin with the recitation of Dua al-Iftitah with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala. All right, we'll begin inshallah. One more loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة وأعدم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي وأقل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أقلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها، على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه، ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه، ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده، الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يدا، الذي لا تنقصه خزائنه، ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير، مع حاجة بي إليه عظيما، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي، وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي، وصفحك عن ظلمي، وسترك على قبيح عملي، وحلمك عن كثير جرمي، عندما كان من خطئي وعمده أتمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك، وأريتني من قدرتك، وعرفتني من إجابتك. فصرت أدعوك آمنا، وأسألك مستأنسا، لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن أبتع عني عتبته بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي أبتع عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي. يا ربي إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك، وتتحبب إلي وأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن لي التطول عليك. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي، والإحسان إلي، والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل، وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك، مجري الفلك، مسخر الرياح، فانق الإصباح، ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله، ولا شبيه يشاكله، ولا ظهير يعاضده. قهر بعزته الأعزاء، وتواضع لعظمته العظماء، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أناديه، ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصيه، ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنيئة قد أعطاني، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني، وبهجة مونقة قد أراني، فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه، ولا يغلق بابه، ولا يرد سائله، ولا يخيب آمله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين، وينجي الصالحين، ويرفع المستضعفين، ويذع المستكبرين، ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلفه آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين، مبير الظالمين، مدرك الهاربين، نكال الظالمين، صريخ المستصرخين، موضع حاجات الطالبين، معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها، وترجف الأرض وعمارها، وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا، وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق، ويرزق ولا يرزق، ويطعم ولا يطعم، ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى، وهو حي لا يموت، بيده الخير، وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك، وحافظه سرك، ومبلغ رسالاتك، أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى، وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووسي رسول رب العالمين، عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة، وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي، حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدنه المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك، استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله، مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له، أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا، يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به، وانصره وانتصر به، وانصره نصرا عزيزا، وافتح له فتحا يسيرا، واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله، وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا، وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا، واشعب به سدعنا، وارتق به فتقنا، وكثر به قلتنا، وأعزز به ذلتنا، وأغن به عائلنا، واقض به عن مغرمنا، واجبر به فقرنا، وسد به خلتنا، ويسر به عسرنا، وبيض به وجوهنا، وفك به أسرنا، وأنجح به طلبتنا، وأنجز به مواعيدنا، واستجب به دعوتنا، وأعتنا به سؤلنا، وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا، وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا، وأذهب به غيظ قلوبنا، واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك، إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وأعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله وبضر تكشفه ونصر تعزه وسلطان حق تظهره ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. زيارة اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، السلام على 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.